Jack, a man who had always lived alone, decided to buy a farm in a remote area of the West. He hoped to start a new, quiet, and free life. When he arrived at the newly purchased farm, it looked deserted, except for an old wooden house that stood strong. Jack got off his horse and walked toward the house, feeling excited and looking forward to his new life. He opened the door and walked inside. What surprised him most were the three women standing in the middle of the room. They weren't ordinary women. They were immense, with huge, well-defined muscles like female giants. One had blonde hair, another had black hair, and the third had fiery red hair. Their eyes were fixed on Jack without blinking. Jack stood still for a moment, not knowing what to say. The red-haired woman took a step closer and spoke in a low, clear voice. "Did you come to buy this land?" Jack answered with a look of fear and confusion. "Yes, I am the new owner." Then the black-haired woman stepped forward and continued in a serious tone. "We have lived here for a long time. We have taken care of this land for generations." The blonde woman walked closest to Jack and looked at him from head to toe. She spoke a phrase that left Jack stunned. "You're going to have sex with us." Jack was shocked. He had never heard anything like this before. He felt threatened, but a part of him was also curious. He took a deep breath and asked, "Why?" The blonde woman explained with a calm expression. "This land needs a strong man to do heavy work with us. We need someone who can live with us and build a family, to continue the lineage of the giant women here. We have been waiting for a suitable person for a long time, and you are the one who had to come." Jack stood there for a moment, thinking about his options. He could run away, or he could accept this new destiny. He looked at the three women again and saw not just a frightening presence, but also their loneliness and long wait. He smiled softly and said in a clear voice, "All right, if this is the condition to live on this land, I accept." The three women smiled, and the tense atmosphere turned into warmth. Jack knew his new life wasn't just about farming. It was the start of an adventure he never expected. He had found his place here, on this strange farm, with three of the strongest housemates he could ever imagine. The next day, Jack woke up in a large, soft bed. He felt like he was still dreaming, but when he sat up, he saw the old wooden house bathed in sunlight and heard loud noises coming from the kitchen. It was then that he realized everything from the day before was real. When Jack got to the kitchen, the three women were preparing a huge breakfast. The blonde woman smiled at him and introduced herself. "I'm Sophy." The woman with black hair nodded. "I'm Sokha." And the red-haired woman said in a clear voice, "I'm Molly." Their life on the farm began. Jack witnessed their immense strength firsthand. Sophy could lift entire tree stumps that would have required several horses to move. Sokha used her bare hands to plow a large field, more efficiently than a tractor could. As for Molly, she moved giant boulders out of the field as if they were just pebbles. Jack, for his part, handled smaller tasks like fixing fences, watering crops, and tending to the animals. Even though his work seemed less significant, they always praised him, as he made their daily chores much easier. After a few weeks, their relationship grew. Jack shared stories from the outside world, and they told him the legends of their ancestors, the giant women who lived in the mountains. Over time, love blossomed between them, and Jack warmly accepted a new kind of intimacy with the three women. They were no longer just companions. They had become his true family. But their peaceful life didn't last long. One day, a group of outlaws who had been robbing people on the roads arrived at the farm. The leader of the group shouted a threat. "Hand over all your valuables, or we'll burn this farm to the ground." Jack bravely stepped forward, knowing he had powerful protectors behind him. He yelled back, "This land has owners now. You should go back where you came from." The outlaws laughed at him. At that moment, Sophy, Sokha, and Molly stepped out to stand behind Jack. When the outlaws saw their massive size, they were filled with terror. The leader, who was usually so confident, screamed in fear, "Giants! They're giants!" Sophy walked forward and simply waved her hand, sending two outlaws flying into the house's wall. Sokha stomped on the ground, making the outlaws all fall to their knees. As for Molly, she just glared at them with a fierce look, and they ran away without daring to look back. Once the outlaws were gone, the three women approached Jack, and Molly gently stroked his head with her large hand. Jack knew then that he had found a home he never expected. He hadn't just found a farm. He had found a family that protected him, loved him, and would be his home forever. The months that followed were filled with a peace Jack had never known. The farm flourished under their combined efforts. With the women's power and his knowledge of farming, the fields yielded bountiful harvests. Their home, once a lonely place, was now filled with laughter and a deep, unspoken bond. Jack's affection for Sophy, Sokha, and Molly grew with each passing day. He was no longer just the farm's owner. He was its heart. But that peace was a fragile thing. 1 month after the outlaws' retreat, a new group of riders appeared on the horizon. This was no disorganized gang of ruffians. This was a full-fledged army of seasoned bandits, led by a man known only as the Serpent, a cunning and ruthless leader who had heard the humiliated bandits' tales and saw a chance to claim a legendary farm for his own. The Serpent didn't ride directly to the house. He was smarter than that. His men surrounded the entire farm, cutting off their access to the nearby creek. They set up camp on the high ground, a clear sign that this was a siege. They're not just brawn. They have brains now, Jack said, watching the outlaws from a window. Sokha's eyes narrowed. They think they can starve us out. We won't let them, Molly said, her voice a low growl. Sophy placed a hand on Jack's shoulder. What's the plan, Jack? Jack took a deep breath. He knew his strength wasn't physical but strategic. He had to be smarter than the Serpent. He pointed to a low ridge far from the farm. We don't need to beat them head on. They have more men and guns. We need to outsmart them. Sokha, can you dig a tunnel from the house to the creek? A deep one? Under their camp? Sokha nodded. It will take time, but yes. Molly, use your strength to block off their supply routes, but do it from a distance. Make it look like a rock slide, Jack continued. And Sophy, your power is in intimidation. We'll use your powerful voice to create echoes from the canyons, making them think they're surrounded by dozens of giants. The plan was set in motion. For days, the bandits waited, growing impatient. Then, in the dead of night, they heard it, a booming roar that seemed to come from all directions, echoing across the mountains. Rocks began to fall, blocking their paths. Their water supply dwindled. They became paranoid, shooting at shadows. Finally, they saw the source of their problems. The ground beneath their feet began to tremble, and a small stream of water appeared from nowhere. The Serpent, in a fit of rage, saw Sokha emerging from a tunnel at the creek, a triumphant smile on her face. The Serpent and his men, now dehydrated, disoriented, and terrified, didn't stand a chance. Sophy and Molly appeared, and the fight was over in minutes. The rest of the bandits fled, leaving their leader and his lieutenants defeated. With the Serpent's gang gone, the legend of the farm grew. People from distant towns heard tales of the 3 colossal women who lived in the valley, protected by a man with a mind as sharp as their strength was immense. Jack and the women were never bothered again. They had created a legacy, a home, and a family built not just on love, but on a perfect union of brain and brawn that made them invincible. The peaceful life Jack had always wanted was finally his, and this time, it was protected by the most powerful people he would ever know. With their reputation sealed, the farm became more than just a home. It was a legend whispered across the Western territories. The Serpent's defeat served as a powerful warning, and no outlaws or opportunists ever dared to approach the valley again. The peaceful life Jack had longed for was finally his, and it blossomed in ways he never could have imagined. The community, once fearful, now regarded the farm with a mix of awe and respect. Local merchants would travel out of their way to trade goods, and families from nearby towns would bring their children to gawk at the tall women working the fields. Jack, with his quick wit and warm smile, became a respected figure, a bridge between the giant's world and the human one. The farm itself, now known as the Giant's Respite, flourished into a bustling hub of prosperity, its abundance feeding not just its inhabitants, but also providing surplus for the surrounding towns. Years turned into decades. The love between Jack, Sophy, Sokha, and Molly deepened into an unbreakable bond. The farm, which had been in a state of disrepair, was transformed into a paradise, a sanctuary of peace and power. Then a new chapter began. The farm's population grew. The women began to have children, the next generation of their unique lineage. They were not giants like their mothers, nor were they of normal human size. They were a perfect blend, taller and stronger than any man, yet possessing a human grace and intelligence. They carried their mother's physical strength and their father's wisdom and kindness. Jack watched them grow, teaching them the importance of hard work and the wisdom of the land. He taught them to read and write and to treat others with respect. They, in turn, showed him feats of strength that filled him with pride. He knew his legacy would not be in gold or land, but in the extraordinary family he had built. One evening, as Jack sat on the porch, watching the sun set over the flourishing fields, he saw his children playing in the distance. He saw his 3 wives standing tall and majestic, watching over their family. He had come here seeking a quiet life, but what he found was something far grander. He was not just a farmer, but the patriarch of a new kind of lineage, a family whose legend would be passed down through generations. His home was not just a farm. It was the foundation of a new world, a testament to the fact that love, and not just strength, could conquer any obstacle. The story of Jack and the Giant, Women of the Valley, has reached a beautiful and complete conclusion. Their journey has come full circle, from a bizarre initial encounter to the founding of a legendary family and a flourishing new world. The final chapter brought peace and a lasting legacy, fulfilling the story's main promises.